Maximo was supposed to come out? That's my question.
I think Amazon has him as May. I
Okay.
think he, I think they got May 1st down, but I may not be sure.
All right.
That means anything between now and May.
Between point A and point B.
When will then be now? Soon.
Well, it's like I remember when Combiner Wars was first coming out. I had pre-ordered everything online, and then I got that stuff like 3 months before it hit retail anywhere else.
Hmm?
It was like a very weird time for. I feel like that doesn't happen as much anymore, but it was kind of like for a very short time there a normal thing that the online orders fulfilled well before anything else.
That's very, very true. Well, anyway, we're live. Um, Welcome back to another Plasticast. The whole gang's here, which is great. None of us got snowed in or anything. I don't know if you guys have gotten kind of cold. It's been kind of chilly here.
It's
I
been
definitely didn't get
65 to
snowed.
68 this last 2 days. It's supposed to be 32 tomorrow.
Yeah, well, kind of a weird thing. We had a snowfall today. But before that, we had hail and rain all on the same day.
Fun.
That's Missouri for you.
Well, is Missouri not the show me state?
Yeah, it shows me all right.
Yeah, it shows you that weather can do whatever the hell it wants.
Yes, this is very, very true.
It's called the Show Me State because that's what everyone's asking to show me the way out of here.
True.
I can say that. My mom's from Missouri.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been there many times, visited family. I'm ready to come home to Florida every single time.
I mean, it's not bad over here. It's just the weather can be kind of a pain in the butt. But speaking of pains in the butt, the lack of media that is supporting anything that's being put out there. That is going to be our hot topic tonight. Not just because not just it
Well,
doesn't really just affect Transformers. It affects so much. It's kind of
yeah.
silly.
Now,
Um,
lowercase h, lowercase t, no trademark.
yes, exactly.
Just, just so nobody is confused.
But
I thought we were all going to dress up like scene kids from the early 2000s.
we probably could. We could probably do something funny like that. Um,
Oh, yeah. Oh, y'all just now got it. Okay. All right.
yeah,
Joke
yeah,
grenade. You tell it in 10 seconds when everybody gets it.
exactly, exactly. But yeah, that's the big topic tonight. I could kind of guess, when it comes to non-supported stuff, probably the biggest, one of the guys can talk about it most is probably me from, 11 Generation 2. G2 only had a comic book. It had some commercials. There
Well,
was no
it did have,
cartoon. It was just a
well,
rehashed cartoon.
yeah, but it did have media. I mean, they
But it
did use the
was
cybernet.
it wasn't at the level that G1 was. And
No,
then
no, no,
everything
no.
else following it. It kind
But
of
it
was a
did, but it,
dip, you know.
yeah, but I agree. But but just, it did have media that did support the Generation Two motif, if not the characters.
Right.
I had all those great commercials.
The commercials, honestly, to me, was the media for G2,
Yeah,
other than the
yep,
comic
I,
book.
I, I still have core
exactly. I totally
memories
agree.
from being a kid seeing some of those G2 commercials.
Yeah, so I mean, it did have its media, but it wasn't as prevalent as things should be. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like about the late 90s, around Beast Wars and all that, on with Transformers. There kind of was like a consistent media dump of a show or something. And we've kind of hit this dry spell as of recently, which is nuts. Um, so, I mean, how are you guys feeling about like really not getting like a full on cartoon series or anything insane that's really kind of pulling the weight of this brand anymore. Like,
I'll be
go
I'll
ahead,
be
Don.
honest from I'll be honest, for me, it needs to be a quality show like animated, like Prime. Because if we get more direct like machinima crap, I don't want it. I'd rather than put that money into making good toys and whatever fiction we can pull from that. I don't want to see more of this machinima garbage that the voice acting is marginal in many cases. It's almost like it's note for note. Here's a reference. Here's a reference. Here's a reference. Here's a reference. You know this. You know this. You know this. You know this, and it just strings along without any meat of its own. It's all references and allusions to everything else.
It was South Park
So
calling member berries.
I can't hear Sideburn
Oh no. I had a feeling that you couldn't.
at all.
Oh, you can't hear him at all.
No, I cannot hear Sideburn at all.
Maybe Don tries dropping in and coming back.
He might have to.
Can
You'll
everyone
have to
hear me?
suggest it to him. He can't hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear everyone else.
Sideburn, can you raise your hand if you can hear me? Okay, he can hear me. I cannot hear him.
But I can hear
Listen,
him. That's what's
T-
weird.
tell him to drop in and drop out and see if that fixes.
Thank you,
it
Skype.
real quick.
Oh, wait a minute.
Jason, you'll have to tell him to drop in and drop out and see if that fixes.
Try
it real
to
quick.
drop out, and then drop back in. So just like
Maybe
disconnect
that'll.
and then like reconnect.
Because when I joined, he stopped hearing you, and then I'm
Turn it off,
assuming
turn it
that
back
when
on.
Megamus joined,
Yeah, it's like
he
turning
stopped
it on
hearing
and
me.
off again.
Like my dating life in college. Although that was mostly off.
Hey, you know what? We all have our
Oh,
ups and
here, let
downs
me.
there, Don.
Well, let me see if me. Hold on.
That was part of
Well,
the
but see,
problem. I
if
didn't have
I-
any.
Kind of like the media we're getting for all of our toys.
Exactly.
There isn't any.
Let me see now. Do you hear me now, Don?
Yes. Yes.
Brett, you talk. Let's see if if he hears you.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
All right, Jason, you talk.
Can you hear me? You can't hear
Yes.
me now, can you?
I hear you just fine.
Mike,
Alright,
did you hear
here-
Jason?
Can Mike not hear me?
I hear it. No, I hear everyone.
Oh.
I thought you were talking about. We were making sure that that Don can hear you.
Okay,
Yes.
Good. Good. All right. Now that we've got that fiasco out of the way,
Our Discord doing weird things.
yeah,
Like every week is something.
I know. Strange.
Go home, Discord. You're drunk.
This is what happens when you have AI write coding.
Yeah, right before you came in, Brett. When I joined, he couldn't hear Jason anymore for some reason. And then
Yeah.
I assume you joining in made him not unable to hear me. You know that I was kind of curious because it seemed like you weren't responding to the things I said, but I couldn't. I was like, maybe I'm not sure.
Oh, but anyway,
I don't know.
Going along, what we're talking about here. Brett, you're much like Don, like all of us kind of grew up with like a whole lot of media pulling a lot of these toys along. What are your thoughts on some of this lack of that we got going on with not getting any cartoons or anything?
Honestly, I don't know what to make of it. Are we getting toys that are not on TV shows now? Is that going to affect it? Is that going to increase the knowledge? Or people that see the toys on the shelves, are they going to try and figure out the lore of what the character is? Is there any? So I don't know if it, I think, in my opinion, there has to be something, whether it be through, whatever media, either on movies, TV shows,
A YouTube
comics,
series.
anything. I think that's one of the things that Transformers has always had. They've had some sort of connection with the lore. The problem is like for me, you guys mentioned certain characters, and it's nothing that I've heard of. And do I? Okay, well then I'll research and try to figure out what character you're talking about. So that kind of pushes me to do that. Am I in the minority? Probably. You know, but I'm more apt of like the comics and the original shows and the shows that are out. So the comics make more sense as a media for me. So I guess what you're asking is, are these are the toys that are being put out, do they need to have some sort of media? I believe they do. Whether it be, in the front or obscure, whatever, I think they do. I think that's what makes them, that's what makes a brand different. So
Well, yeah,
I guess that's.
I see what you're getting at there, Brett. Because I mean, some people, like you said, read to get their media. Some people get it through visual aid, you know, TV shows, stuff like that. There were some of us that kind of grew up. We remember the back in the day when we got the the little books that had the audio tapes, and the read along kind of things. That was a form of media too. And
I would. I just gotta say, I would kill for an actual series from those books on tape and those records with those voices. It's just so it'd be like, you remember Electric Company Spider Man?
mhm.
Oh yeah,
That kind of, but for Transformers.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. That'd be actually really kind of cool to see that. That'd be a whole different take on things. And I mean, I think that's like the biggest thing is here. Like, sideburn, since you're like newer to, like, you're not as seasoned as we were, how did you get your media through, um, in order to like learn about Transformers? Like, how did that come about for you?
I mean,
these horse.
well, at this point, I'm as seasoned as a geriatric racehorse, but um, I mean, I grew up in the age of morning, and I think you guys are somewhere in this similar. Like, I was still at the tail end of morning cartoons, after school cartoons, and Saturday cartoons. The cable wasn't very widespread. There wasn't a dedicated cartoon channels. Um, and so I just remember, I mean, I think I came across the toys first. There was a bunch of, I was pulled in by the dinosaurs. There was, I remember, I my first Transformer ever was Pterosaur. Um, and that somehow, and then by the nature of, turning on school cartoons before school, there was Beast Wars, and I watched Beast Wars every day at 6:30 in the morning. I would wake up, and even if it was a rerun, I would watch Beast Wars again, and then new seasons of Beast Wars. So I watched it all the way through. Eventually, as morning cartoons. So that at that time that was kind of just the norm. You were a kid, you watched cartoons before and after school, and then you played outside, and then you watched cartoons Saturday morning, and then you played outside. Now, um, I feel like, and that was cable came in, when Armada was on TV. That was on Cartoon Network. So now you're on like full time cartoon dedicated television on cable. And that was all the way up through animated, right? But yeah, at the start it was waking up before school and watching cartoons. Obviously comics were a thing, but it was already hard to even find. There was no comic store anywhere. I live in the suburban sprawl of Orlando, and there's not a whole lot of hobby shops within that. You have to go out of your way to find one. So there wasn't exactly comics hanging around. Maybe if they were on the shelves at Walmart's book section, um, until until a little later that a bookstore opened up, and then that had comics sometimes. But so yeah, really it was cartoons in the morning, and just toy aisle, and probably a little bit of like McDonald's promotions.
But you saw the toys first, and then
I believe the timeline there was that I saw the toys first. I don't think there's a very big and distinct time frame between the two. I think it was kind of I discovered the toys, thought they were cool, transforming dinosaur, and then not very far into the future, school, waking up in the morning and turning the TV on and seeing Beast Wars on television. I don't remember connecting the two. I don't remember at that point in my brain where the two were connected, but I remember the toy first and then cartoons.
See, it's funny you should say it that way, because for me, I'll be honest, I don't remember if I saw the TV show, the G1 cartoons. I'm pretty sure it was I saw them and then I went out looking for the toys. But I definitely remember I knew absolutely nothing. I'd gotten out of Transformers, and I knew nothing about it until I walked down to Toys R Us and saw Beast Wars. And I could not wrap my head around it. It made no sense. I didn't understand. And yes, one of the first things I saw was Megatron and Optimus Prime. Not Primal, Prime. And I didn't understand any of it. And didn't buy them. Really didn't figure it out. And then it was afterwards. Then I saw the show. Then it made sense. Then I went looking for the toys. So that kind of goes along with what I said before. I think you really need the media to do that driving force to get you to want the toys.
Well,
Yeah.
I think. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was just say I think the big thing there. I don't know if I would have stuck with. I don't know how interested I would have been into Beast Wars if I hadn't very shortly after discovered the show and then absolutely loved it. But to the point of media driving the sales, I think the media that I would point to is probably more like Jurassic Park, is what caused that dinosaur, because I was in that dinosaur craze in the 90s, right? And so I was a huge dinosaur and animal kid, but mainly dinosaurs. So when I saw transforming dinosaurs, that attracted me. Kind of like the same way why I was into the Power Rangers, because they had the dinosaurs, right? So I think that was kind of the media jump I made. Was, dinosaurs are cool, and here's this dinosaur that turns into a robot. And then I found the media, which then drove my absolute, after I got into Beast Wars, I didn't care about Jurassic Park anymore. I didn't care about Power Rangers anymore. I only asked for Beast Wars. But that's kind of, I think that dinosaur craze in the 90s that was driven by Jurassic Park is kind of what made me see that thing on the toy peg and ask my grandma for it and get me into where I am today with Beast Wars and stuff.
Now, what I'm gonna say is a little odd, but I think there's some merit to it. Back before the internet, you had to have this media. You know, we've seen the formula. They make the cartoon, they promote the cartoon, and the toys come out to support the cartoon. That's that's the way it's been done. You know, there's variations on the theme. Look at Hasbro's entire lineup, since GI Joe all the way through, whatever. But now you don't really it helps to have it, but you don't really need it because we do have media for all this stuff. It's called the internet. All you have to do is post that it exists, and everything takes on a life of its own. The people that are interested in it talk about it. The people who might be interested, if they know about it now, and then they talk about it. And then as it works its way through the hobby, people that may not have an interest in it, but know somebody who might, tells their friends. So you don't really need the television show or the comic to get something started. Now, to keep it going, you need to have some kind of... You need to have that something to keep it going, but you don't really need it. Because, I mean, look at Kickstarter. That's a primary example of you're starting something with no media, limited media, retro media, like the recent Mighty Orbots Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then that takes a life of its own, and it propagates out through all of the collecting circles. So the problem is, again, you need something... Well, you don't need, but it helps if you have something these characters are part of, rather than just this thing that, unfortunately, young kids, like with the the current line, Cyberworld, they have that media on the YouTube episodes. But kids also have so much more imagination at that target age group than we do now. I mean, we still have our imaginations, but it's very tempered. We can't just freeform. I'm going to sit here and have fun. Because our ages, our life experiences has tempered that. Whereas these kids can see this one episode, but have a bunch of toys that wasn't in the episode, and can make their own fun.
Kind of reminds... I see what you're getting at. It reminds me of back when, me being the age I am, Return of the Jedi was the first time I ever got to see any of the Star Wars movies in theater, because it was the one that came out at the time. But you had all these characters that came out that had no connection to anything, like Snaggletooth, and Yak Face. Characters that didn't even really have any kind of like actual anything, but maybe a small bio on the card, and that was it. And you had to make up where they fit into whatever universe it is. And I think that's what's lacking nowadays, is people are waiting to, what is this character? Well, who is this character? They can't come up with their own idea of who this character is, where this character came from, what's the origin,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really one of the biggest things that's kind of hurting, I'd say, almost every platform right now. Like, I don't think a lot of platforms are flourishing because there isn't enough of the imagination of, hey, this is supposed to be this, or this is this, then you get to create your own after that, I mean, look at Lego. Lego's kind of like...
I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Lego, I think, is probably the one that's kind of really hit and miss, because a lot of stuff, it's like, it's got to be tied to this, it's got to be tied to an IP. Whatever happened to just getting...
Well, I was thinking
Lego?
that
like this,
Well, I was
Seen a
thinking that,
lot of that though.
not tied to
but
anything.
then I thought of something else too, because you're talking about uh, toys that lead kids for their imagination. And Jason, you'll like this. You buy a Lego set, and then on the front shows what the build is supposed to look like. You flip it over, and it shows the actual build with the figures and everything. What happened to the alternate builds that were on the old ones? That didn't show you how to build them, but then it was your imagination to figure out how they did it.
Here's a perfect example.
They don't do that
Actual build, alternative build.
right.
This is the set that you buy. This is what's advertised. But this is what you build out of it. This is
Yep.
what Lego needs to start encapsulating more. So that way
Right, they
people
don't-
aren't
they
just
don't do
buying
that.
something for
Yeah.
No,
You're
they
buying it
they
for
push on
specific
the fact that
elements.
it's Star Wars, and that's why you got to buy it.
yeah,
The
'cause,
thing-
you can't make something cool like this anymore.
Well, the reason we're talking about this, I want to give credit where credit's due. I'm a Patreon subscriber to Bobby Skullface, and he does a sit-down Saturday discussion every week on a variety of topics that things that he wants to discuss. And this last time he was talking about if he had to do it over again, would he go Chug or would he go Masterpiece? Versus, that was his discussion. And Christy's my wife. We usually sit and watch this together because I like for her to see little glimpses into my world without it being so overwhelming. And she raised this point. It's like, how do they promote something how do they make a toy and promote it if there's no media for it? I mean, what happens? And the example she gave was Barbie. Barbie doesn't need lore. She doesn't need media because everyone knows Barbie can do anything she wants. She can be anyone she wants to. So that's why she has 16 houses, 15 cars, and enough wardrobes to make Zsa Zsa Gabor think that would be too much. So you don't need that, or Barbie, or old school Legos, because it was just assumed that here's a bucket of bricks, go crazy. But for Transformer fans, we've gotten to the point where a lot of people have to say, like, where does it fit in my? It's like that meme with the guy in front of the cork board with the strings and the labels and the paperwork. Like, here's the whole Transformers universe. Where does it fit? I have to make it fit somewhere. Now, Megamus and I are probably the most seasoned BotCon people, classic BotCon people. And Megamus, I want to get your opinion on this. When we got our box set, do you feel like they would have been less or more without the comic, without the fiction that was established for this set, as for who these people were? What do you think?
Would they have been less or more
Enjoyable,
enjoyable? Oh,
or
less.
right? Because this is all they had.
But it could also be detrimental. So, like case in point, the 1 year they did the Pirates.
I didn't mind that.
I hated that set. And then I'm like, I don't understand it, so I'll read the comic that came with it. And I hated it even more. So it didn't work in that aspect.
Right. But
then it could have.
Right. And I think that's the problem is we need to this is me personally. If I was given this BotCon set, any BotCon set, and I had no fiction other than here is Dawn of Futures Past. All you know these are the Beast Wars characters on Cybertron with Cybertronian molds. There was no comic, there was no nothing. It was just toys in a vacuum. Would I have enjoyed them? Yes, but without that fiction to know what place it plays in the role leading up to Beast Wars, whether canonical or not, it was still important to know how it interacted for my own OCD of it. It needs
Well,
to fit.
I can do one even better than that. Is the backstory and the lore important? And I'll say 100%. Look at Shattered Glass. If you took that box set without a comic and gave it to anyone, they would understand what it is. Okay, I understand it's just like the Star Trek episode, blah blah blah, and the roles are reversed, this and the other. But the comic and the backstory was so good that not only did it drive that price of that up and the need for that up, but Hasbro even continued doing it. It was so good.
It was
So
enough to
then
become
those
its own
people had to
thing.
go and get more and more. So, and that was 100% driven by the media to continue that and to have people buy.
Right. So I'm all for having a toy in a vacuum because I would like to think I have enough imagination left that if they gave us just a great, she said, well, why don't they just make, my wife said this, why don't they make just a really great Transformer that doesn't have any connection to anybody? And that could go both ways. They're not going to spend the money if they can't tie it to something because fans want it tied into something. But
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise, yeah, go ahead.
we used to kind of get. I was thinking because we kind of used to get that, but we didn't. Because I'm thinking of like characters like that were not in shows, but were just part of lines that were also in shows. You know, we got a lot of stuff like that. I'm thinking like some of the Cybertron characters, like Energon Slugslinger. I remember, stuff like that
Yeah.
was.
It's almost
But
like they're right off screen. You can't see them.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Kind of
um,
like a background character almost.
but those characters are still, they're tied to a something that has fiction. So you use them as you kind of fill in the gaps. Like, oh, in my when I was playing with them as kids, these guys are just these guys they weren't in the show, but these guys were off doing. They existed. They were off doing other stuff, and I gave them like their own part in my little wars in my bedroom. But um, yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, because we have that line coming out in by Takara that those two, it's Blackout and Ironhide, that are kind of not tied to anything other than they're obviously they're characters that exist in multiple properties. Um, that kind of fits that, but
I mean,
yeah, I don't
I
know.
can
It's hard to say.
those I can kind of see how they're trying to kind of pull maybe Bayverse kids in because of how they're designed. The design kind of
Yeah.
fits that. The aesthetic, I should say. But
It's like Bayverse and maybe like Super Robo type people, like because they're maybe trying to hit more of the Gundam fan base, the sort of you know maybe the robot model kit fan base and stuff like that. Though they're not model kits, but they're definitely going for a different. I think maybe more of an HF audience, but. At the end of the day, it's still Ironhide and it's still Blackout. And like you said, when you look at Ironhide, you kind of see like a mix of what you expect, what you got from like the Bayverse and other stuff like that.
I mean, the one line I can think of that really didn't have any kind of supporting media was Machine Wars, because there was nothing. All you had was like a small little short bio in the back. This even had Optimus Prime and had Megatron. Why is Megatron smaller and he's a jet? Why is Starscream the biggest figure in the entire line? Why is he a black bomber? There's a lot of like, what are these? Added in there, and that right there to me, just because where it kind of fell in, people liked it because it was still Transformers without any kind of supporting media, but that was kind of in between G1 and Beast Wars, kind of like wiggled in there, you know.
Well, and I think if you, in that case, if you had already known Transformers, you were probably looking at the bios thinking, well, what's going on with Starscream? Why is he this now? What's going on with Megatron and Optimus? What's going on with this now?
But a kid
I
out
don't
of
know if you can.
context wouldn't have
Yeah.
known that. So I really think media is important to the brands, but I can also see how, you know, Don was saying about Barbie. I could say that even about Hot Wheels. How often do you see weird Hot Wheels that make no sense? Like, even in the real world, it's like, why does this thing even exist? And there's no bio, there's no nothing on it. It's your imagination.
Well, I think unironically, the one Transformers line that I think ran the longest without having any supporting media that I can think of is BotBots. It eventually got a cartoon,
Yeah.
but for a while there, it was just these funky, oddball Transformers that turn into random household items, right?
Well, I
Um,
think the reason they were as successful like they were is because you already had kind of existing stuff from the Changeables, you know, from McDonald's.
And he had some
and
weird
such.
stuff in the Bayverse stuff. He had the toaster and the
Yeah.
watch and all
So
that
I
stuff.
think a lot of that kind of stemmed from there. It's like, oh, it's a pizza slice. It turns into a robot. It's
And there
fun.
was a craze of that. The minifigures, the blind box stuff was big at that time,
Mhm.
but that had its small little craze. I think that had just like no supporting media. You can kind of see how it did well at the time because you can. I don't think you need a whole lot of justification to why a donut transforms, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of. I think that was drove more by the comical nature of it than anything else. But yeah, yeah, it's hard. I think the big thing, if you look at it from like why is media not as popular? Why is the media not as popular as it was? And why we are sort of in a void. The two big things that people watch nowadays is streaming services and YouTube, which is kind of why we've seen all of the children's lines have been YouTube shows, and then the stuff targeted towards us has been like on Netflix. And even now, like because they're making a cartoon out of the Skybound stuff, that's supposed to be on Netflix, but it's like that going to drive a whole lot of sales for Transformers? We'll see. Will that drive sales for comic books? We'll see. And the big thing in comic books right now, comic books have been sort of a very niche, media outlet in America for a long time. It's not like it would be nice if we had something like manga, the popularity of manga in America when it came to comics, but we don't. So. Yeah, it's kind of a weird landscape. To me, I feel like the way that Hasbro could make the biggest jump into sort of the cultural zeitgeist again beyond movies, because the movies have driven a lot of awareness, but would be video games. But video game attempts up to now, or have I think the last one that was kind of very decent was Devastation, and that was like a decade ago.
Yeah, but they were spotty. It was spotty. As far as making a big impact.
Yeah, none of them had big impacts, and that's
somewhat not.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm saying is that would be the outlet to take to try to get the most brand recognition. But it just seems like Hasbro's failed at it every time they've tried. And like reactivation.
I think some of the things you said make sense, but the first thing I just wanted to say was going back to what Jason had said, um, talking about Machine Wars. Machine Wars was horrible. It did very poorly. If you ask anyone when they remember seeing Machine Wars, it was at discount bins because it had nothing to drive it. All right, I'll
It was a
stand by
KB
that.
exclusive at the time too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
toy was, but the whole idea was if they had the media to promote it, it would have done better.
well, I worked at KB Toys at the time when they came out, and I was there when the first box hit the floor, and I opened it up and I looked at them and I was like, these are awesome because because you got some of the European molds in there, even if they were gutted. But yeah, but I totally get what you're saying because it had nothing to go with it. It was just a
It had
thing
nothing to
that
go with anything. Yeah.
yeah.
So when you start talking about video games, I think that's hit and miss. I think child cartoons are hit and miss. I think that one of two things, and I haven't really looked at Transformers 1 to see just how well the toys sold based upon that. But I think if they just went back to a straight cartoon, and yeah, it would have to be streaming now, and they built upon that, or they had a really good movie, because sales always goes up on movies. I think those are the two platforms that they need to focus on,
Well, from
not
from
the
what
others.
I've gathered, because there's a few videos I've watched. According to Paramount, they're working on 5 different Transformer movies. I think it's crazy how many they're trying to work on. It's mainly because they're trying to do knee-jerk reaction, so they don't lose.
I mean, that was the.
because they're about to lose the patent to actually have that in their wheelhouse. That's why they're trying to push another movie.
I mean, that was well. They were working on 5, but that was because they were saying that like right around Transformers 1, right? I mean, because it's been.
No, this
It-
has been
it's
this
been
has
a
been
while.
pretty recent that they had
Was
announced
it?
it again. Yeah.
Because I feel like they've been dark since Transformers 1.
Well, they brought
collected
Michael.
the
They're
box
bringing
office.
Michael Bay back, and the reason doing that is because the guy put butts in the seats, and he sold.
Yeah, I
He
don't
sold
know.
the franchise. I get it, but whether anybody likes the guy or not, I mean, he did what he did, and honestly, we kind of have to thank him for the, the first Transformer movie to come out, because if it wasn't that, our brand probably would have died off a long time ago, because Energon was not doing good at that time. We all remember those days.
It's hard to say. I think things like trying to capture lightning in a bottle, twice. Because it was sort of it was the continuation of the movie franchise by Michael Bay that I think also reputationally harmed the franchise ultimately. So by the time you got to uh, Dark of the Moon, and by the time you got to Age of Extinction, you started the people talking pop culture sort of podcasts and stuff like that I would watch at the time. It was sort of it went from like a cool blockbuster movie to they're making another one of those uh, brainless Transformers movies again. So we'll see what can come of that, but I don't know. I feel like there was a chance, like had Transformers 1 done well, that maybe would have seen more media surrounding that. That seemed like a cartoon movie would be a great way to spin off a cartoon. But one just didn't seem to do well in the box office, which seems to translate to not. Though there wasn't a whole lot of I don't feel like they made a lot of product for Transformers 1.
Transformers 1, it did have some product. There wasn't like an enormous amount. I remember blockies being everywhere, and still kind of somewhat are for Transformers 1 in particular. But from what I had gathered, the reason Transformers 1 did not do as well is that debut first trailer they put out put a bad taste in everybody's mouth because they thought it was just going to be a big joke.
Trailers were terrible.
Well, that's the thing. The first trailer is what everybody watched, and everybody said, nope, I'm not going to go see that. And that's all it takes is one bad egg. And that's the issue with everything now. Like, you put out one bad trailer, everybody thinks the rest of the trailer is going to suck.
Or it's not even a bad trailer. It's people see a teaser trailer. They see stills from a motion picture, and they immediately jump to a finalized conclusion based on this little bit of snippets that they're seeing. The entire thing is a failure, and then that snowballs from there. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. That actually makes me very angry, even more than that damn Snuggle Bear. And I have an irrational hatred of that Snuggle Bear, I will admit that. But this makes me just as mad. Because you see a teaser trailer, or you see stills from a motion picture, snapshots of a moment caught in time. You can't extrapolate an entire movie's quality from just that. Yes, you can look at the producer, the director, what they've done before, how successful they were. Some of the people that's in this film, how successful were they in these kind of movies? And you can make generalized assumptions. But you know what they say when you assume. So that is something that you can't look at this snippet and draw that the movie is going to be terrible. The problem with Transformers 1, the production company releasing the trailer did a very bad job of showing what the movie was. It looked too jokey, too kidified, with no depth, all jokes, and way too much Bumblebee. So it would be too easy. In this one case, it would be very easy to draw those conclusions because that was everything bad you could put in a trailer and then show the trailer.
Badass of drawn.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
literally, if they had marketed it as some humor, some serious, like that line where Megatron, well, he's still D16. He tells Optimus, when Optimus says, we need to go after Sentinel. Don't you want to stop Sentinel? I want him dead. Put that in the trailer juxtaposed versus a Bumblebee crack or something from Alita 1. Then you would have a complete tonal shift that people would see. There's jokes in this movie, but there's some drama too. And they didn't do it.
Yeah. It's like I said, that very first trailer was nothing but jokes, and that was what... Because everybody I'd talked to that had ever watched the very first trailer, they're like, I'm not going to go see that. It looks too kiddie.
I thought it was going to be like...
Everybody kept saying that. So everybody that's our age that are Transformer fans, oh, well, it's just going to be just like freaking, Rescue Bots or whatever. That's kind of how everybody felt about it.
I thought it was going to be like one of the new Jumanji movies.
And honestly, it's become a under-the-rug cult classic thing, much like the very first Transformers movie was kind of a cult classic, and it's right, too.
I mean, I have still not watched Transformers 1. I have it on Blu-ray, and I still just haven't watched it.
It's worth watching. It really is. It's a good movie. It's very...
I mean, I've heard good things. Yeah, I've heard good things about it. It's just...
I mean,
I don't know.
I had a feeling of back when we used to watch Transformers Prime where it had the jokes, but it also had that seriousness. It kind of felt like it had that kind of balance going on throughout that whole movie. I personally think it was very well balanced. But when you're going to have a knee-jerk reaction from a company that has kind of failed a few times with recent movies and not doing very well with them, turn around and say, oh, well, we're going to try to crank out 5 Transformer movies, which what they're trying to do is basically probably lock 1 or 2 of them in consistently so they can actually keep the IP and say, hey, we can still do it without Hasbro saying, nope, we're done, pulling the plug. That's what I see. because there's so many movies out there. Like, take for instance the Masters of the Universe movie that's coming out right now, right? They're toys. There's going to be toys. We saw some of them revealed at Toy Fair. But honestly, how well do you think those toys are going to sell compared to the referenced to source material vintage stuff? You know, I don't sometimes see that doing well because, I mean, you guys all remember the Power Rangers movie when that came out?
Yes, that was better than that was better than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah, I didn't like the trailer. I never saw it. Still haven't. I actually need to get around and watch it.
Yeah,
But
I
the
haven't. I never
toys
watched it either.
shelf warmed. They shelf warmed so bad.
They were so bad. They weren't good.
They might have been good toys, but the point is they put all this heart and soul into creating a toy that didn't even sell. You know?
And I think the big problem, like, and this is a Hollywood problem, because Hollywood, and it's a little bit of a Hollywood problem, a little bit of a consumer problem, is the characters. They focus on the human characters. They always focus on the human characters. But what sells what sells a kid a Power Ranger figure? It's the freaking Zords. And so the toy line for that, it felt like the Zords were a second thought, and it was just power. It was just Ranger figures, and it's like no one cares about the Rangers unless it's Tommy. We all care about the Zords.
I mean,
So yeah, that was it was a weird marketing thing there, but yeah, I still haven't watched that either. That was another one trailer that kind of just killed my interest.
I mean, I think that's the biggest issue we're having right now in the trying to balance the media with a toy now, because they have to make the toys affordable for kids, but yet it not be so cheaply made that a parent doesn't want to pay the money, but you also want some kind of connection to that character. You know, it's kind of like in Cyber World. Why is Megatron a ball? Thought he was a tank. I thought he was a jet. I thought he was a gun. You know, it's one of those weird things that if you don't watch the media, you don't understand it. But it's kind of cool how it works with the toy line. And I think if they focused on actually making good toys that are actually sellable on, you know, on the shelf, even online, they would still sell these, but you have to have some sort of media attached to it. It's like all of our 86 stuff, look on the back of them. There's barely even a bio, even if there is a bio at all on the back of them now. Like all these toys we're getting. There's like nothing. And I'm like, okay, you're basing it off of dudes that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, some late 30s, to buy this Optimus Prime that has no bio on it whatsoever, to have a reference of the dude getting stabbed in the gut with a piece of metal. You know? The damaged one that's coming out. That's the problem. Is them just not putting any effort, it seems, at all into the media. They're just like, oh, here's another one. Here's another one. I think that's probably one of the biggest issues, personally, that I'm seeing. Like, do you guys see that kind of pattern too?
Yeah.
I think that people have to be vested. No matter how you look at it, boil it down to emotionally vested in a character in order to want to buy it. That you can span that to a character, a toy line, whatever. But there has to be something there. There has to be substance for people to want to buy it. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, I mean, there's been test markings and everything about packaging and everything to catch your eye, and does that get people to buy stuff? It might. But I think overall, especially for this type of branding that we're used to, there has to be something to it that makes you want to buy that particular toy. And it has to be more than it's a good looking toy.
I will admit though, I have bought plenty of figures. I when I get further along with this mess, hopefully before I die, I'm going to have a shelf. The theme of this shelf is no theme. It's all just cool stuff that doesn't really fit in with my collection anywhere else. I've got one of the tanks from Acid Rain that transforms. I've got a ton of things that don't fit anywhere else, but they were just too cool to pass up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that works on me. If it's something unique, even if I don't collect or know anything about it. One thing I got recently, again, this is a prime example. It is Mystic Land, and she's a fox mechanic. There's apparently a entire fiction behind these characters who I know nothing about. I've not done any research. It's just this is a great looking character with a lot of accessories that I got for a very good price versus what other places were selling. So she will be going on my no theme shelf because I don't plan on buying any more of these figures. That may change. But it's just a great looking figure with a ton of accessories. And so there's fiction, I don't care. The rule of cool pretty much dictated what I bought.
Right, but you yourself even said I don't plan on buying any others.
Exactly. Unless it's again something along
Now,
the same line.
if that thing had, if that particular character had a backstory and had another character that had some sort of relationship with that you cared about, then you'd buy the other or another, or another, and that's what I'm getting at. You have to have a backstory, and the only way you can portray that backstory, you're only going to be able to do so much on a box that the figure comes in. So you have to have media, whatever.
Well, because I remember, I was a Bionicle kid, right? Bionicle was big when I was like in middle school, and they kind of went. It was a non-traditional route. It was like commercials, and you saw the Bionicles on the end caps and stuff like that, but it was all website. There was a website you would go on and you would learn about the Bionicles, and you would there was games you could play, and you would get story about the whole setting and stuff like that. And all that kind of just I don't know. I'm like wondering why, and when, and how that all kind of became obsolete. It doesn't seem like there's really there are no lines that are just like go to this website and learn about everything and stuff like that anymore.
Well, the only toy line I could think of that was fairly recent, unfortunately it's not being produced anymore, and what you see on the shelves now is all that's left, is Final Faction. Final Faction had a toy line, they had a comic book, and they also had a little I want to say there may be 15-minute long cartoons, and they're all on YouTube. And I don't know if another company bought them out or what happened, but they were the whole line went away. But this was also put in by Dollar Tree. It was a Dollar Tree thing. These figures cost like $1.99. You could buy weapon packs, everything. They even had little vehicles. Some of the craziest cool things, and actually pretty decently articulated. They were kind of remind me of the old Leonard core figures from back when people got like G.I. Joe figures, And I was like, this is excellent. I would love to see more of this. I don't know why it didn't do well. There's still a lot of stipulation behind the reason it was pulled. But I personally think that was probably the most excellent way to get kids involved because they were affordable. It was kind of in their face, and it wasn't hard to produce, much like you're talking about, like Bionicle. I think these are excellent ways they can still do this, but I mean, they did try the comic books with Transformer action figures, and those sold pretty good from what I got. And I mean, am I in the minority on that? Because I saw them
No,
sell
no.
pretty good.
I mean, I didn't. I think I bought the comic. They had like I saw it, and was like, oh, okay, this may be an interesting read, and it's like the last one or two issues they had, so I got that. Never bought any of the figures, but I know from going in looking for other things, I'd always walk down the toy row at your typical Dollar Tree, and they were always seemed to be a new wave every few months. I mean, I wasn't keeping track of it religiously, obviously, but I was definitely noticing changes in characters, changes in the weapons and accessory pack. So, I mean, for a YouTube series and a comic book on the shelf at the dollar store, that one, I think that was, you could call that a success for sure.
I think that's an enormous success compared to what a lot of these multi-billion-dollar companies are doing. I mean, that should tell people that these things will sell if they're properly put out there and put out there by the proper price. But back when we did get like the second time they did Jaxus, they released him with a comic book. Why is he orange? Everybody wanted to know. I personally didn't mind them doing that. I thought that was a good idea to release a figure with a comic book. I think that's an excellent way to get kids into that if they don't want to put all the effort into putting all this information on the back of a box because they find that too taxing.
Right.
Do the
It's weird.
figure and freaking comic book route at least.
The weird thing is, some of those characters, the comic they came with, they were barely in the comic or not even really a star of the comic. I think the Trailbreaker or the Trail Cutter one, I think he was barely in it and maybe had one line. But that was the comic that came with that toy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think multilingual packaging is kind of what killed all that.
yeah.
And like, because when they re-released the Beast Wars stuff, the tech spec was like the bio was like this long because it was in 3 different languages. And so that I think that if you have to extrapolate that out to having a comic book in there, it gets hard to meet the multilingual sort of standards that you have to meet these days. I assume it's mostly for the Canadian market, but
Well, it's cost.
Yeah.
It's 100% cost. Do we do a U.S. version and then have to redo the packaging to hopefully sell these, or do we just do it all in one and throw it out to everyone? And that's what they did.
Well, I do have kind of a bit of a solution to that. I don't know if you guys saw what the newer Masters Universe retro style figures they had, the little packing comics here in the States. If you looked at the comics, there were no words. It was all action. And they were doing the same thing. The same ones were released over in Europe. They were doing that to go over the multilingual language. So that way you can actually tell what's going on. I personally think that, if anything, that would help at least bring something media-wise to the eyes of the kids other than just the toy, because they're not all going to go and Google search something or something like that. Not all, and some of their parents are like, their tablets and such are all locked to only do certain things, so they can't go look for certain thing if it's new. So I think it'd be a good idea if they actually put some type of even small pack-in comic. It doesn't have to be a full freaking comic book. Small ones, Like, how often when we were kids did we get tiny little comics with our toys? And those comics weren't even that long, It was just a little bit of media to go with it, to kind of tell you who this character is, what that character does.
Well, I want to know why, because I was thinking about it while we were talking about it, but I want to know why Hasbro doesn't have an app like the Lego Builder app, where, because you could have something like this where you can go in and you can see new releases, and you can scan a QR code, or you can check it off in the app that says, I got this set. Look at the instructions. But they could also put, maybe if it's too hard to put on the packages, you could put text spec type stuff here, because you can switch the language of the app and stuff like that. And it seems like an almost no-brainer to me when I started thinking about it, because I when I go hunting for, because I collect the the speed champions line. When I go hunting for, every now and then I pop in here and I go looking at the speed champions. It's like, are there there's new stuff here I don't have. I need to go hunt for it. I need to find it. So there's a lot of ways I feel like Hasbro can make Transformers a little more interactive with the technology that we have. I think the Lego Builder app is sort of maybe like a prototype of how they could do something similar. Because if I did, if I was collecting a lot of Transformers, especially, I might go in to an app. Let's say with the Kingdom stuff, have had it all check marked as I have this stuff. And then let's say I'm digging around with something I haven't touched in a while. I don't want to dig out the instructions, but sometimes I just did it the other day. I went on to Google and I was like, how do I transform this stupid? I was transforming the Studio Series Rhinox, and I was like, how do we get this stupid head into his chest? And so I had to go look online, and it's like, it would have been, if I had an app, or I could have just pulled the instructions up, that would have been much nicer than having to go online, knowing that I had something like that. And then also, they could make it more, sort of tie in some what we used to get on the boxes with tech specs and stuff like that into the character profiles and stuff like that.
Well, do you guys remember? I think it was the newer Robots in Disguise, where they had the little code that was all over their Autobot emblem or whatever. You would scan it.
Mm-hmm.
Why did we get away from that? That was like a no-brainer. I never.
I mean, they've done a few. They've done a few apps like that. I think it's just. I think those are too. To me, those are too specific. I think that they just need a brand app.
Yeah.
If they just had a brand app, it would make sense. But
it's almost like, and I can't say this in full good nature, because we've seen this Transformers design team give us some really unexpected stuff. They've gave us some stuff that we never thought we would get, or we wouldn't get it as good as we got it. So there's proof that the design team behind Transformers cares. But it feels like Hasbro corporate above them doesn't want to do stuff like that anymore. They don't want to do more than just bare minimum and get a product out people will buy. Granted, it may be a product that we really want, wasn't expecting, still. But it's almost like they don't really care about doing anything beyond the basics. There's no scan the QR code and watch a video, or maybe go scan a QR code and get a behind-the-scenes video on the creation of that character. Something to make the money that you spent for the toy more than just about the toy. Yes, it is plastic crack, but sometimes we want a side of cocaine to go with our plastic crack, or something like that.
I get it, but what you're saying is you're expecting a toy company not to look at the bottom dollar, the bottom line.
Oh no! I mean, no. I get that. Not. Which I totally agree. But also, you have to figure in, by not doing that, they're missing engagement with the final consumer that may come back and help them later on more and make more money than not doing it in the first place. It could be. I don't know.
Well, I
But
agree, but I'm assuming, once again, that they have this whole marketing team that looks at that and figures it out and comes up with, you do it this way, you get X. You do it this way, you get Y. Which one makes more sense? And that's what they go with.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Transformers has a marketing team.
I think.
Yeah. I mean,
You
I
would
don't.
think they do.
What have they been doing?
Yeah.
I think they were on vacation. The snow.
No,
The snow scared them.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. They were probably let go.
That's the other thing. They
If
did
we're
that
being
corporate
honest.
downsizing, and who knows who they got rid of.
Yeah.
You know, for all we know, there was one guy driving the things that we liked, and
Yeah.
the whatever it is, media, whatever,
Because-
and
yeah,
and
because-
that guy's gone.
Because y'all have noticed over the past year a definite drop in the amount of interactions with between Hasbro and Mark on Instagram. So there is still some engagement, but you have to wonder, all these people that was pushing for that, you create a better bond between company and final consumer. No matter how it was phrased, it was for them to make more money. We get that. But it's gone. It's just not there, like you were saying. And I don't want to like we're not getting all that we want. It's not that. We're getting great toys. But we've seen it done better. And it was a little more enjoyable for a more well-rounded experience. Like, for example, I'm going to take a current pre-ordered item. Studio Series 86 Astro Train. How many here are planning on buying that figure?
I'm not.
Exactly. Because it sucks. Okay, based on what we've seen so far, there's a lot of issues with that figure.
It looks like it could be one of the most finicky figures ever.
Yeah,
if they don't get the tolerances right, because it's so panely.
Yeah, and it's someone posted basically, ask if Ozempic is right for you with a picture of that Astro Train. Ozempic is the weight loss.
He does have a bit of anorexia here and there on him.
Yeah. So
He somehow reminded me, and this is I think it's just because of the colors, but for some reason I was looking at him the other day, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm getting Universe Galvatron flashbacks, but for some reason I was looking at it and I was like, this feels like it's going to be a figure as awful as Universe Galvatron.
Yeah, exactly. But the reason I bring that up is because that's a toy that should fit in with the rest of the 86 figures. That's probably why, and y'all can agree or disagree. You remember the dramatic capture set that they redid Astro Train, Blitzwing, and that Starscream, and how good that Siege Astro Train looked in that deco? How many people do you think bypassed that because we knew we were getting an 86 Astro Train, and we knew what to expect generally from the 86 line, and now we've got that. But there's no media showing why he looks like that. It looks like they focused on just the train mode because that's what he was in the longest in the movie, and the other two modes are suffering. But there's nothing around this figure to help. Oh, he looks like this because of this, or it's just in a vacuum that figure looks terrible.
Astro Train should have been. He should come in a big box that is just the cargo area, so that you can reenact the fight scene inside of him.
I always joke they should come out with the next time they do a big Power Ranger Zord. That's whatever it might be. the inside of the box is printed as toy. You just take the box, turn it around, open it up, tape it together, and it's toy.
Yep.
Who's a cardboard box. And that's all he really was. But it's just characters that are bad are still redeemable if they have a good transformation or there's something interesting about them. There's nothing for this. It doesn't even look like Astro Train is supposed to look, other than in train mode. So
Yeah, but I'll go the opposite of that, and you could have a mediocre figure do very well because of the backstory.
that's true. That's very true.
I mean, like I went out of my way to get DevCon. the
That's
newest version of Dev-
exactly. I'm looking at
It's
him
an
right now,
okay character. It's an okay toy, but I love the backstory, so I had to get it.
and it's the fact that we never thought we were going to get that character,
Right.
and he's from the Blur mold, and he looks perfect, like he just stepped off the screen. But again, it ties into the lore. The
Thank you.
Gambler is probably, if I had to list my top 5 G1 episodes, most of them would probably, let's say top 10. Half of them would be from season 2. And the Gambler is up there. It's very much up there. But again, I really didn't need anything other than that toy to exist because I was grateful that toy existed. And he
Right.
looked
I mean,
as
it's
good as he
just
did.
like you were talking about Jaxus. I don't think it's a great character. I don't think it's a great toy. But I know what the character is. I read the comic. Mine came from the comic.
Mhm.
I had to get it.
So, do we need media? No. But will it help the overall process?
Good.
Yes. Yes.
Could hurt it too.
It could.
Well,
It could.
I think the biggest argument here to me is, what do you think's going to happen in the future? When all of us old guys have kicked off
Holy Christmas.
to
Hey,
the
I got 11
Transformers brand, like,
I got 11 regenerations left. I don't want to hear that.
yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, if you think about it, what do you think's going to happen, like, after we've all kicked off? Like, are kids going to care about that? Look at what happened with Dick Tracy in The Shadow during the 90s. They had toys. They had media. They didn't do well.
We try and forget those times.
Well, no,
Yeah, well, I know
I'll
we
be
do.
honest.
But, I mean, I'm
Dick-
just trying
Dick
to be
Tracy-
honest. That's
yeah.
kind of what could happen. Because The
Yeah.
Shadow and Dick Tracy was huge during the late 50s, early 60s, and even going into the 70s. Stuff was phenomenal. But it didn't do well in the 90s. And I think that's kind of what could happen to Transformers if they don't start creating stuff that's beyond just a robot that turns into something else on a shelf.
And that
They have
has,
to make things relevant.
You know?
yeah.
No matter what you do, you have to make things. And how do you do that? You either tie it into what's going on right now, or you throw it back to nostalgia and you pull on the heartstrings.
You do what Ninja
Okay.
Turtles has.
I mean,
Well, let me ask y'all this. Do you think it's time for Hasbro to start thinking like Brave?
say that
1 year-
again. Start thinking like what?
Brave.
Okay.
A 1 year toy line, give or take, a 1 year cartoon. Don't tie them together. Let them be their own thing. And that way it's a little more of a limited line. Spend time and focus on crafting a show that doesn't talk down to your audience. Give us that Beast Wars level of writing, of acting. Give us a solid series, even if it's say 6 episodes or 12 episodes over the course of say 3 or 4 months, or like 2 episodes, whatever. And then give us a line of toys for that year based on those. Do you think that's what we need? Because you have your fiction. If the fiction is given the money the direction and the focus to be a completely enjoyable series in this 1 year, and the toys to match it.
Let me just say one thing, and it's going to be a little far fetched, but it'll make sense. A toy line that the show came out. It was a single show. It had depth. It had character development. It
I
had
know what you'll
action,
say. I know what you'll say.
and the toy came out. And I said the toy came
Okay.
out.
Not what I was thinking.
And what I was thinking was Macross. Okay, Robotech.
Yeah.
The show was great. There wasn't many toys.
Mhm.
And everyone gobbled up the toys. So I think that if they would have did what you're saying, make the show, make it very short, make it very simple, and put out enough product, you would buy it. But I think they were short sighted in that, thinking that it wouldn't do as
Right.
well as it did.
What I was thinking you were going to say, and you and I have talked about this show before, Exo Squad.
Yeah. Yeah, the difference is I cannot put anywhere near the quality show of Exo Squad next to Macross. The show
Well,
Macross was just almost perfection in my opinion.
right.
But they fell short on producing product.
But the storytelling in Exo Squad, the show wasn't afraid to tackle tough issues. You felt like you were actually watching something that had weight, that mattered. And that's what I'm saying. Do that. Take your Exo Squad. Take your Beast Wars. Take your I'm gonna go really, really rare for some people. Shadow Raiders / War Planets from Mainframe, same folks that did Reboot.
Yes.
Give us something that doesn't talk down to your audience. It's wrote smart, directed well, good voice casting, people that care, people that are that know the craft and know what to do. Craft your story. Yes, it will take money. I understand that. But if you create a show that people talk about, want to see, want to buy the toys, you're creating a theme that people will remember. And you're creating a new possible legacy associated with your company. That's why I think if Hasbro looks at every year of Transformers, like keep 86 running if possible. The 86 doesn't have a Cantinas theme, so there ain't much left they can do. Star Wars just keeps going back to that damn Cantina, every time they need a character. But make a
They
show.
got like 200 dead characters that they can make.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Put some money into it. Don't go El Cheapo, like the guy from Jurassic Park said. Don't get cheap on me. And make the show. Try to make a show that shows that you care about this property and are not doing a quick cash grab. Make a small selection of toys for this show. Brave sometimes got a little too many characters too quick. I mean, okay, I don't mean that badly. I'm just saying, look at some of the teams, the divers. Not the best toys. No. So, but that's what I'm saying is give us a solid show with thought and care and respect to the property. Give us toys that reflect the show and then see how it does. And I think they would be incredibly shocked by how well this does if they don't try to do it on the cheap and bare minimum and AI voices and all this other crap.
I still think I think they just need to give the media property back to Japan and let like proper anime studios make Transformers animes. I think that's, to me, that's the direction that would be like the most logical. But
Let Takara have it back.
I mean, heck, dub, get a good dubbing company. Do Wild King. Bring Wild King over. Or the not quite your cyber world, older than cyber world, but not quite your generation's audience. And go with that. Do a decent Digimon Tamers style level quality dubbing. And
I mean, to me, one of the I will just say right now, like the last best series we got was Prime. I love Transformers Prime. I thought it was very well done. Looking at the way the toys sold astronomically well. Some people didn't like the mech tech gimmick or whatever. That's why you had third party people making bits and pieces for that. But the toys themselves were really good.
yeah, that was a
And-
carryover from Dark of the Moon.
But I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think the way they put the media out there for Prime didn't down talk the audience. It was funny. It did have its quirks, but to me, I think it was a pretty well balanced thing because kids enjoyed it. Some adults liked it. Some teens actually enjoyed it. So I think it had that good demographic that went over everybody instead of just, oh, this is for kids. This is for adults. This is for
Nah,
kids.
Prime
This is for
Prime
adults.
let me down.
Like, I don't know.
No one ever stepped on Raph, and I couldn't forgive it for that.
No, I can understand how irritating some of that got. But I mean,
Yeah, I like
think it
Prime.
was well
Prime
balanced.
Prime was unfortunately it was too ambitious in that what we saw was a bunch of storylines that got canceled basically because they couldn't afford the voice actor anymore. They went too big with the voice actors, but it was a good show.
But I mean, that's the thing. I think that's the reason why the toys sold as well as it did, and did as well as they did, and how we got
Yeah, it was good. I mean,
some
and that's where
weirdos just thrown in there, just recolored. You know, it was strange.
yeah.
Like
Well,
that
that's
dead
where I
end,
think,
where
like-
the hell did that dead end come from? Coolest toy, and as far as I'm concerned, out of the entire line because of that color scheme. But it wasn't even the original mold. You know, it was Wheeljack instead.
Yeah. I still just want I just think it seems to there's a lot of studios I think, and when I think of who could do a good Transformers cartoon, and to me it just screams like anime is the way to go. Anime is the way to go, just because it's kind of the last bastion of pure like cartoons at this point.
I mean, look at all the headmasters, G1 headmasters, all that stuff. That was all Japan. That was all over there. That wasn't even over here in the States. It was.
Hey, look at Car Robots.
Yeah. Done over there.
My dream is still, and I've mentioned this before. My dream is for Studio Trigger, which is the studio that did the Gridman series, the new Gridman series, to do a Transformers, and they did that Transformers anniversary vignette last year. That was stellar, and so I would just love to see him get the reins of a Transformers show. I think it would be awesome. And it would go to a streaming service most likely. That's just the reality of things. No one watches TV. They're not going to put it on I don't even know if is there a cartoon channel that exists anymore?
I mean, the thing is, the Transformers official channel has all the cartoons, all the Transformer cartoons on there for you to watch for free on YouTube.
Yeah.
They could.
I
do
just don't
that
think.
easily as
I just
an
don't think YouTube.
advertisement, 'cause people
YouTube,
still watch it.
it being a primarily YouTube series, I just don't think it has the
Push.
have the audience capture like it used to. Yeah, it's when you go to YouTube, the algorithm's pushing more interesting stuff. I mean, there's no shortage of reasons why YouTube shouldn't think that it should push me Transformers, and I've never seen anything Transformers pushed to me on YouTube. So, it's sort of buried, and unless your algorithm is catching it, it's buried in the algorithm. So it needs to be realistically something that is going to capture people's attention. It needs to be on a streaming service or something like that. But no one's going to buy a streaming service to watch Transformers, and it's
Yeah.
got to be something that is organically found on a streaming service, which also has its own algorithms. They want you to
Yeah.
watch the shows that you're going to be interested in. So it's a hard landscape to navigate.
Yeah, and I just thought of this. I don't want to go off on another tangent. And I know we're already running an hour and a half long. But remember when you used to get episodes on DVD packed in with the toys?
Mm.
I have some of those.
Yes.
Mhm.
Do you think something along those lines, pack in the series with the toys? Do you think that has any merit in today's technology, the way the technology goes? Do you think there's any merit?
Didn't Robot Masters do something like that, where it had actual like a cartoon that you can only get
Maybe.
by getting the DVDs with Robot Masters?
Yeah. Or maybe like do a 1 hour introductory special on YouTube on Hasbro's channel. Get it started where you can get as many eyeballs on it. And then include the rest of the show at the same quality in your toys, like say Voyager price point and up, comes with this wave. This wave has episode 2 or 3. This next wave has episodes whatever, and then your whole series is there. It's not stuck with the most expensive toy, and the smaller toys kids can still buy and enjoy because they may have saw them in the first promo part or opening or something. Does that have any merit nowadays? Y'all think?
I think it would just take too much forefront planning.
I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I also look back at you brought up War Planets. There was another toy line that did a very similar thing, actually two other toy lines. Hot Wheels did it, and also Independence Day did it, where they did the floppy disk back in the day, where it was some kind of something packed in digital with it that would
Is there
give you a
merit
game or something.
to
But-
pack in floppy disks?
But I'm just trying to think, like, nowadays a lot of people don't have a DVD. Some people don't have a DVD player. A lot of younger kids don't really do that.
That's a
lot-
bit, unless you have
Yeah.
I mean, even consoles will come with, the base console doesn't come with a DVD player anymore, and PCs don't come with DVD players. They don't come with anything.
So it would have to be like a QR code or something
Yeah.
you would have to scan. But in order to scan it, it would have to be after you remove the figure off the back, or it's, I don't know, packed into like some little pamphlet or something in there. But
Yeah.
I think it's a good
That's where I
idea.
come back to Lego Builder app. Hasbro just needs a permanent Transformers app that collects all the different lines into it that you can QR code, and it'll bring up it adds it to your list of, oh, look what because it also doubles as a collection tracker, right? But and then just you can tie in some form of media into it, and it would just be
Well, what I was thinking is, since they have the official Transformers YouTube, if they have that app and they're like, hey, I want to see this character, and you click on this character, and, because it's on the application or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, then it sends you to whatever episodes this character's in, and you just click on them, and it sends you directly to their YouTube so they can get their revenue or whatever, and they get to watch the episode with the character in it. Like, I think that's the only way they can really bridge this gap to make this work in a legit way. And like you're saying, if we're talking about things being expensive, like printing comic books, because printing is very expensive, they can have the comic books on there digitally that they can read. Same way.
Yeah. I want to bring this up not as a topic for tonight, maybe not even next week, but I want to bring it up to people that watch this video, maybe can comment on YouTube when it goes up about what their thoughts are, and we can revisit it at a later date. One thing I've always felt since 3D printing became a thing, and you 3D print, so you might know where I'm going with this. Hasbro, I feel, is going to eventually not produce as many physical toys. They're going to produce CAD files that you can buy and download and print your own figures. Now, I don't know how far out this is even feasible, but I feel like this could be an extension of what we're talking about here. You know, making a toy, having it tie in, doing all this other stuff. What if they had a minimal cost involved creating these toys? They still own the rights to the toys, but they put the production cost onto the consumer, but who can customize it however they want to get the toy they want. So you really don't need fiction unless they wanted, again, a two-parter showing off these characters in this situation, and then you create the character that you want. Is that a thing that could happen?
Could be.
It's a possibility.
It would have to become very low maintenance and very accessible, because I think it's just wherever. Right now, definitely not, but it's hard to imagine how soon we'd be to a point where that would be something that
Viable.
anyone but a hobbyist wants. It's basically like the people who are interested in that are probably the same people who are interested in things like model kits, and model kits haven't done well in a lot of places. Like,
because I was thinking, like,
Gunpla actually does very well, though. That's the thing. Gunpla has kind of been one of those hot things, and here in the States it has. So, I think
look
Don
at all
may be onto something with that.
Yeah, like all the Shogogun modeling project with the Super Sentai, the Kamen Rider, these super high grade model kits that make action figures better, almost to a degree, than an actual action figure would be. I mean, one thing I don't understand why Hasbro hasn't done is, why have they not, like, everyone says, give us accessory packs.
Mm-hmm.
Hasbro's not going to do that. But what if they give you the CAD files to print your own accessories?
Correct.
That would be a lower level version of what I'm thinking. And then you buy this file of like 15 weapons that they've created the CAD file for $9.99. They've got minimal investment. They're making probably $9 on 10, for example. Just as a rough, dirty number. And then you can print out all these great weapons for all your G.I. Joes. Mattel could do the same thing for He-Man. You could have racks and racks of He-Man weapons for your Masters of the Universe collection. I think they're leaving money on the table by not letting.
I said that before. I can't believe that they don't see these third-party companies making just these gap fillers and everything.
Well,
and not saying, "Hey, we could catch in on that."
Well, I can see them not doing gap fillers and stuff because it's kind of an admission that, yeah, we know our stuff's got some problems, so we made a problem to sell you a solution. That's not.
I don't see. I personally don't see.
It happens in the auto industry all the time, and they get away with it.
That's what they did.
It's just
money on the table. They need to grab it.
Yeah, but I think. I'll finish this up because I hear I said I didn't want to start a new tangent, but I think if they release simple stuff like
accessories, I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Guns, accessories, do what Valiverse is doing with their classified style line. You can buy head options, you can buy hand options, you can buy backpack options. All because people love to customize, especially their GI Joe stuff. That's the whole point. You can have the GI Joe that you want because they. Like I've got 2 of the pink Valaverse female that they did for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I would love more stuff that I could, outfit them with that matches their pink. There ain't none. But, that's what I'm thinking. If Hasbro wants to make money without investing a lot of money, do that. Give us these accessory packs. Look at Marvel Legends and Star Wars Series Black figures. You get nothing with those figures for the most part nowadays, especially Star Wars. Look at your average cost of your Star Wars figure and look what you get versus if you look at a G.I. Joe figure and what you get with it. Yes, there's licensing and royalties involved. I understand that. But look at this G.I. Joe figure. This is a $34 figure. I got it on clearance. But look how much stuff you get. A Black Series figure is the same size figure, roughly, for $28, and you'll get a blaster, a lightsaber, maybe 2 or 3 guns, and that's it. Where is the value in that? Give us the stuff we can print ourselves. I won't do it because I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, and that would probably burn down the house, my wife, my cat, and the neighborhood.
It's not that dramatic, but yeah, I can see where you're getting at there, Don.
No, you've seen me in technology. Trust me, it would happen. Anyway, I'm getting off my soapbox. Put my soapbox, get back under there. So soapbox has been retired, but maybe for a future episode, that's something we can discuss.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really, really good idea. Let's go ahead and wrap up and get final thoughts on our lack of media. I'm going to go ahead and start with Brett.
If Hasbro doesn't improve on their media, I don't see how it's going to get any better. I think they have to focus on it. That's just my opinion.
Sideburn?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. They need to. I think there's gonna come an inflection point where they're not gonna be able to coast on what they've already done. They kind of. I know it's hard to figure this market out, but they need to figure it out because they need to start capturing new people. And then I don't know. The only other thing I can think of is Hasbro doesn't have the desire to do that, and I think we might end up, as a conclusion to my final thoughts, I think we might end up seeing Transformers become more of a licensed franchise than a Hasbro produced franchise. We'll see.
Dawn?
Whatever they do, they need to make sure they have the right people in the right place at the right time. One of the basic rules of project resource management. Any project must be given the resources to succeed or it's doomed to failure. That's Project Management 101. Whatever they do, don't do it on the cheap. Don't do it with a bunch of AI slop. Get people who know the material, who know the property, who have the history, and whatever you create, show that you care. If you show that you care about this property, yes, we know you're trying to make money. Duh, it's business. No real surprise there. But show us that you care about the property. Show us that you're willing to give us a story that we can appreciate on multiple levels without assuming we're idiots or that we're going to eat up whatever dreck you throw at us because, it's got the references. It does this. It looks like that. Hey, look, we included rub signs. Give us substance over flash. And just put some damn effort into it.
I can completely agree with all three of you guys on this. All I have to say in my closing thoughts is if they can't get it together, then it's time to take the IP and allow someone else to do something with it that's going to put some love and some effort behind it for future generations to be able to enjoy it. Because us old guys aren't going to be able to pull this cart very much longer. That's all I got to say. But anyway, well, that being said, we're going to go ahead and sign off and get out of here, and we will holler at y'all next week. So, good night, everybody.
Take
Good
care,
night,
everyone.
everybody.